What's up, everybody? Welcome to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. I'm Katie Mox. Today, we're talking AFC West futures with my friend. You know him. You love him. Alex Monaco of MSG Networks and The Volume. Monaco, it's been a minute. How we doing?
It's been a minute, Katie. Fired up to be with you. Digitally, I'm still in California, so I'm soaking in a little more vitamin D before I go back to the Northeast, but fired up to be with you. Talking my favorite division in the NFL, my recovering San Diego Chargers.
Yes, exactly why I chose you for this one, because I know that you know them very well. So let's get right into it. Why should you bet with Caesars Sportsbook? 2 words, Caesars Rewards. Every bet brings you closer to the type of benefits only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, VIP experiences, sports and concert tickets, and more. It's not just an app, it's an empire. 21 and over must be physically present in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming, or Washington, D.C. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem, Illinois, Maryland, New Jersey, Ohio, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, affiliated with Harris, Philadelphia. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. Or in Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Or West Virginia, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Colorado, D.C., Nevada, Wyoming, Kansas, affiliated with Kansas Crossing Casino. Call 1-800-522-4700. Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Iowa, call 1-800-BETS-OFF. Louisiana, call 1-877-770-STOP. Licensed through Horseshoe, Bossier City, and Harris, New Orleans. Massachusetts, if you or a loved one is experiencing problems with gambling, please call 1-800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org for 24/7 support. Michigan, call 1-800-270-7117. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York 467-369. Here are the odds for the division on who will win the Super Bowl. Obviously, no big surprise here that the AFC West is the favorite, plus 325, as that is where the Chiefs live, and they tend to win everything, followed closely by the AFC East, plus 350. Bills, Jets now have Aaron Rodgers, and then you got the NFC East and the NFC West and the AFC North. Wow, a lot of acronyms in there. Both tied at plus 475. Are you going chalk here with the AFC West?
You know, as much as I want to, let's not forget, we really have parity in this league. I mean, almost all technology was the last time we've had a repeat champion, the early 00s Patriots. So as much as I want to, as much as it's tasty, I mean, I'm of the San Diego belief we can't have nice things down here, which kind of bleeds into the LA Chargers. You can't have the weather, you can't have California burritos and championships. So aside from the Chargers, the only other team that I'd sprinkle on is, of course, the Chiefs. I still, again, I have to believe what I see, a new bag of options for him for the most part on offense outside of Kelce and Pacheco. I'm going to go off them. I'm looking at the NFC East, Katie. Now,
you're going Eagles.
Teams. Well, okay. This is a division bet, right? And I kind of believe in this Cowboys team. So I'm doing it by process of elimination, but I'm also looking at divisions here on this board where 2 teams can make the case. And this Cowboys team, top 5 offensive line, if Dak can chill out on the interceptions, I believe in this defense. I love the Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks acquisitions. And not to mention this Philly team. I don't think there's going to be a Super Bowl hangover. Now, I did pull a stat. There's only 2 teams ever to lose the Super Bowl, get back to next year, 2017 Pats, 1970 Cowboys. It could be the Eagles to be the third. I'm going to sprinkle on the NFC East, though. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I do believe in the Cowboys this year, and I think this Eagles team is still going to be an impressive top 3 team, especially in the imbalanced NFC.
Yeah, see, I think that the Eagles are headed for some regression. Their schedule this year is a lot tougher than it was last year, and they won a lot of games. I believe it was, 13 wins? So it's hard to repeat that. I mean, the Cowboys pick is interesting to me. I thought you were going fully Eagles there. My pick for this, that I said earlier, I actually like the AFC North. I think the Bengals are going to be good this year. I think the Ravens are going to be a lot better this year. Obviously, we don't know what Deshaun Watson we're going to get. Browns could be really good this year. So that is an interesting division for me where I feel like multiple of these teams, kind of similar to what you were saying. But obviously, the AFC West, it's really tough to bet against the Chiefs, especially after watching the quarterback series and you got to see what the inner workings of Patrick Mahomes' mind is like. That is a mind and a heart of a champion. All right, so let's dive into this AFC West, because as you said, you are a recovering San Diego Chargers fan here. Every team in the AFC West will face every team in the AFC East and the NFC North, which is my favorite division to win the Super Bowl. AFC East had just 2 playoff teams, but every team in that division had at least 7 wins last year. And then the NFC North only had 1 playoff team last year, but a lot of those teams got a lot better. You got the Broncos seeking their first division title since 2015. You got the Chiefs seeking their 8th straight division title. It would be the second longest streak in NFL history. Of course, those Patriots that you said had 11 straight division titles. And then the Raiders and your Chargers are looking to just hang on here. Kansas City favored -175, starting at the top. I mean, are you bet? It seems like you are. You're going to maybe take the Chargers here, or are you going chalk?
I mean, look, there's value. 3-1 is incredible value. Thank you, Caesars. But I just, we're talking about a Mahomes resume, Katie, of 64-16. So as you know, in betting, no one wants to swallow -175. That's a ton of juice. I mean, they're coming off, we'll talk about it more in a sec, but they're coming off the most points per game of any team offensively. And again, it's more of them doing the right things and a combination of the division beating themselves up. I mean, the Chargers are off the 3rd largest postseason collapse in the history of the playoffs, 27-0. And yes, I did sell my Millhouse soul and live bet the Jags all the way till that L because I know my Chargers. But I think you have to do it. I mean, this team hasn't lost less than 12 games since 2017. I still was on Facebook the last time the Chiefs had a under 12 win season. I love them on the over. I think you got to swallow the juice here. I can't convince myself the Chargers, and I am not high on the Broncos or Raiders at all, which we'll talk
at all. And actually, well, one, I agree with you. I just think even at -175, like, I don't know what the number would have to be for me not to take the Chiefs in this division, because everybody thought they were going to take a step back last year, no cheetah, and then they end up winning the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes wins, all of the MVPs there. So hard to bet against that, even with the juice. I agree with you on that one. So let's look at some regular season wins, Alex, and let's start at the very bottom with the Las Vegas Raiders. Win total is 7. The under is juiced to -185. My poor Jimmy Garoppolo. They have gone over their win total in 3 of the last 4 seasons. However, they finished with 2.32 wins below expected last year. They're at +350 to make the playoffs, -450 to miss. Oh, I mean, what do you think of this? I mean, well, the Josh Jacobs stuff is interesting. How do you see the Raiders?
I mean, it's tough, Katie. They had 3 streaks last year of 3 losses in a row. And in a 17-game schedule, you just can't have that. They end with absolutely no momentum. And now they're restructuring. And I think Derek Carr doesn't get enough credit for what he did. This was a team that really infrastructure-wise has no balance. I come hard on down on Josh McDaniels quite a bit. I call him the opposite of a Gerald Butler, a leader of 300 men. He's just not. He's a coordinator. He's never going to be the guy. I just don't look at him and say, this guy makes me want to run through a wall. And then you look at points for, points against last year. They gave up 24. They scored 23. You mentioned Josh Jacobs. Now, Jimmy G, is he on the strip flirting with no wedding ring more than at training camp? I don't know. I don't know what a single man in Las Vegas, as far as focus does. You have to come in and really keep something steady. But I don't love this team at the moment, dynamic-wise. I think they've really got in their own way with Josh Jacobs. He led all running backs with scrimmage yards, and they can't find a way to come to a number. I'm off them. I can't get my head around. Even though Jimmy G's 40-17, to your San Francisco 49er culture credit, I think that may very much fall off out of nowhere here. This team is going to be maybe 7-10, but I got to go under here.
Yeah, I agree with you. And when you talk about Jimmy Garoppolo and his, winning pedigree, a lot of that, he was on a Bill Belichick team, right? When Tom Brady was still there, they were very, very good. Then you look at a Kyle Shanahan team, and to your point, I'm not sure McDaniels really has the same pedigree, especially coming from the Belichick tree. He's not like a Vrabel, who's a dog and who you kind of trust, So I agree. And when you look at their schedule, the Raiders are projected to face the second most difficult schedule on opponents. It features 6 divisional games, with which the Chiefs stayed the same. The Broncos got better with Sean Payton. They beefed up their O-line. The Chargers should be healthier. And then they've got 4 games against a really strong AFC East team, which has got Josh Allen, Bill Belichick, and now Aaron Rodgers. To me, it just seems like this is too much for them to overcome, given that they have kind of a lot of turnover. I mean, especially with the quarterback. I do believe that Derek Carr does not get enough credit. And look, I love Jimmy G as well, but you got to think that's going to take a little bit of time to come up. So I agree with you on this one, and I lean towards that under. Looking at the Denver Broncos, this is kind of a fun, sexy team. I mean, they were last year, and then they ended up being awful, absolutely awful. But now they have Sean Payton. Their win total set pretty high, 8.5, 115 to the over. They have been under 500 in each of the last 6 seasons. They went 5-12 last year with Russell Wilson. They have 8 games this season. They will play 8 teams this season that finished above 500. Is this a 9-win team?
I really don't think it is, Katie. I don't know. Is there trouble in the Russell Wilson celebrity Sierra household? Like, what happened last year in his personal life for this to have? I mean, he doesn't even look. He looks like he needs the Screen Actors Guild to actually have an AI version of the Seattle Russell Wilson come in to save the day. 16 touchdowns last year. They had the worst offense in the league, statistically speaking, the worst. There weren't an egregious amount of injuries. Now, I understand Nathaniel Hackett was a huge swing and miss. I think Sean Payton is a huge upgrade. I just look at the personnel, and then Payton does no favors, by the way, of just putting a target on his back, taking shots at Hackett. They now are kind of the villains, a traditionally likable football culture, right?
Yeah.
I can't get over 16.9 points per game last year, and you don't really reshuffle the deck. Here's the other thing. Russ was adamant about improving his offensive line at the end of Seattle. He was sacked the most times in the league last year, Katie. 55 times the man went down. I just don't see this team turning it around. I think Vegas is potentially, to your strength of schedule thought, duping us a little, luring us in, because it's a coin flip as far as juice, over 8.5 under. I got to go under. I mean, in his early 30s, you can't be getting knocked down 55 times a season. And I don't think this defense is as lights out as we think. You go look at points again, certain categories. They aren't top 5 like they were most of the season. I don't know if this locker even has belief right now in Russell Wilson. This might be one of the Elway tenure's worst decisions since he's been there. I don't really know what to make of this team, but I am off him on the strength of schedule. I got to go 8 and 9 probably.
See, and I lean the other way on this, and I think maybe I'm just drinking the Sean Payton juice a little bit. And yeah, he went a little overboard on the things he said about Nathaniel Hackett, but no lies were told. Okay, that was absolutely accurate, everything that he said. And you already mentioned this. Broncos averaged a league worst 16.9 points per game. The offense actually missed the second most games due to injury. That O-line, which you said, Russell Wilson was sacked more than anybody else. They were super banged up most of the season. They had 10 different starters, and I do feel like they've taken care of that in free agency. They got Mike McGlinchey. They paid him a lot of money, which, there are good things and bad things about that. I do think they're going to run the ball a lot more to take some pressure off of Russell Wilson and letting him cook. And they were also really unlucky last year. They went 4-9 in 1-score games last season. They lost 5 games by 3 points or fewer. And opposing kickers actually made 39 of 41 field goals. Right? Nearly 6 field goals over expected.
Those are all great in the weeds numbers that actually make you, I think if you're on the fence, probably lean over more than under. They are in a difficult division, and they do have to play one division that I think is going to have 3 playoff teams. So they have their work cut out for them. And they really do have a target on their back. No one wants Denver to get the best of them this year, especially with what Peyton did. That's my thing. How much can coaching in year one turn things around? It would make sense with veteran and coaching and quarterback and head coach that it could. There's a chance that Russ is washed, ladies and gentlemen. There is a chance. Man is washed.
The only thing that I could attribute it to, because I'm a 49ers fan, and when we had Jim Tom Sula and Chip Kelly and then got Kyle Shanahan, that team turned around real fast. So it's possible. Look, again, this is one of those ones where you're leaning under, I'm leaning over. Neither of us are hammering a lot of money on this. It could go either way. Let's now talk about your former San Diego, now Los Angeles Chargers. Line is 9.5. The over juiced to -140. Chargers are coming off a 10-7 season that resulted in a really, really sad and shocking loss there in the playoffs to the Jags. Is this another double-digit win team? I mean, you got to think with Herbert being healthy, that rib injury affected a lot more than I think some people will give credit to.
Yes, I think it is a double-digit win team, Katie. I think there's a lot of value still on this Chargers team on the Vegas futures boards. 9.5 is fascinating. Can they get 11-6? Maybe. They never really impress in the division. And then again, just to give you a lifelong breakdown of this team, they win games they shouldn't. They lose games they should. They don't do anything fundamentally well, ever. They just have names and stars. And I mean, you go through the list of 2+ decades, and you can make a case that there's Hall of Famers that were on this team that left everywhere. So I think personnel-wise, they're actually a top 10 most impressive roster. They got players on all three phases. Asante Samuel Jr. is the real deal at corner, and Derwin James there. It's a lethal pass rush when Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack healthy. I mean, and you add in Quinton Johnston, who really is a playmaker. I'm hearing they're moving Mike Williams to the slot. This could be, again, finally a passing of the torch, Keenan Allen wide receiver core, where he takes a step down. I don't see anything they don't have. I like this team. They've been also subtly working on their offensive line here last couple of years. And I like the morale, the opposite of what the Raiders did. They did not pay an asset that delivered for them last year. The Chargers, who again, Spanos is known for not paying players, broke out the Brinks trucks, backed it in, and gave it to Herbert. I think that does a great sentiment for the locker room. I don't love Staley. I think he's in the McDaniels kind of category more than Sean Payton. But I think we're talking about a top 5 quarterback. It's a quarterback league. That's what I'm betting on here. I got to take over.
I love Justin Herbert. And look, the Chargers were a sexy bet last year. I bet them to win the division. And that, of course, didn't happen. But similar to the Broncos, the Chargers also sustained a lot of injuries on offense, a lot with their receivers, a lot with the O-line, and, of course, the quarterback. Herbert was just not able to be as aggressive as he normally is. And I do think that improved health across the board is going to help anyone. And also, Kellen Moore. I mean, let's not forget that the Cowboys offense has been the best offense in recent years, top ranked in the red zone, which I think is going to help the Chargers a lot as well. So I think this is, again, another double-digit team. And to your point about Joey Bosa, I think he's looked at what his brother has done. He's starting to go on that route a little bit. He's changed up a little of his conditioning, a little of his workouts, his what he's eating and that kind of stuff. And I do think that he's going to have finally, hopefully, a healthy year and be extremely productive for the Chargers. So it's always the sexy team. They burned me a few times, but I'm touching the oven once again, and I'm going to take over this. Take the over on this team, and then the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like we already won on this. It's death taxes and Kansas City Chiefs to get 12 wins. I believe that's happened since like 2017.
Yeah, I mean, again, just to reiterate, Mahomes has lost 16 games as a starter in his career. It's just, I'm kind of shocked that Vegas didn't give us the 12.5 number, because to me, the magic number is 12. Again, the Raiders, Broncos, and Chargers do play them typically well. I looked at the schedule. They got the Bills, they got the Bengals. So they have some tough teams. But again, until we see any regression in Sir Patrick Mahomes, I just do not know how we get off this team. I mean, he's going to, again, answer the questions we're all worried about. Can Richie James work? Can the Sky Moore draft pick last year work? Because he did lose a couple of weapons again. But we're going to learn and remind ourselves quickly that it is a system with Andy, with Patrick, and Travis. And until that big three, to quote an NBA term, is gone, I got to go over.
I agree with you. As long as they have Travis Kelce, he'll be out there somewhere. And that guy, I mean, multiple touchdowns. He had, 2 or 3 games with 3 touchdowns a game last season. So I agree with you 100%. Taking the over on this one. We are going to take a quick break. And we come back. We're looking at some prop bets for the AFC West with Alex Monaco. All right, welcome back to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesar Sportsbook, here with Alex Monaco. And it's time for some AFC West player props. First up, the most regular season passing yards. Of course, you got Patrick Mahomes as the favorite, followed by Justin Herbert at plus 600. Give me for Herbie fully loaded to get over 5,000 passing yards again this year. I like him as my favorite. Who are you going for most?
I'm with you. I looked at it. I looked at last year, 2 years back. Herbert's already got a 5,000 yard season in his resume. Chargers were third in pass yards. Chiefs were first. Again, the Chiefs had a little bit of an interesting start where they had to kind of play from behind, and that hero ball I don't think is going to be as consistent or prevalent this season. I like the value on Herbert. I mean, 57-39 last year, 5,000 year 2. It's a contract here as well. So I like looking at a little extra motivation for a prop like this, and the guy has to show up and show out because of this deal. I'm in lockstep with you on Herbie fully loaded.
All right, let's talk about Travis Kelce, the best tight end in the league. His over-under on receiving touchdowns is at 9.5, both priced at minus 115. That's a big number. It's 10 touchdowns, but we're also talking about Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I got an interesting stat for you here. Okay. He didn't have a touchdown. The first 6 weeks of the season last year still cleared this number by multiple numbers.
Well, and he had two games where he had 3.
I know. Well, he had a 4 touchdown game actually, which was insane. So I'm looking at his last year as well as a few years. I feel like last year was a little bit of a one-off. I don't see him going a month and a half with not getting in the end zone. And then on top of that, couple of pieces at the wide receiver position that is relatively important turnover. Juju being one of them. I think that adds a little more trust in the red zone to Kelce getting in. And I actually ran into Kelce beginning of the summer. Had to say hello with my boy. We mentioned we're Chargers. His exact words to my boy was, tell Derwin not to shade inside so much next game. So he knows that this Chargers team does not know how to guard him. Look at Kelce over, but also look at Kelce against the Chargers. He scorched them last year, and he told me that he's going to do it again. So Derwin James, if you are listening to the Moxie Bets podcast, shade inside, my man. I'm going over.
First of all, props to Kelce for just being like telling you. I mean, not that you necessarily know Derwin James, but just to tell you how to beat him, basically, or at least how to do it better. That is so interesting. I love that, and I agree with you. There's nothing that you could say to me that would make me bet against Travis Kelce after what he did last year, and especially with all those questions with the other receivers in Kansas City. The tried and true is always going to be Travis Kelce. Let's talk about Russell Wilson. Let Russ cook. His passing touchdown props, 24.5. I got to go under on this one. I think they're going to be running the ball a lot more. This is a very high number for a very terrible offense last year. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going under. I did the math. 308 TDs in 11 seasons comes out to about 28 per. 16 tugs, lowest number, Katie, by 5 in his career. And you had an offensive coach. That's the head-scratching thing. It'd be one thing if you had a defensive-minded coach. This dude was handpicked to create and curate an offense around Russ. I just think this team does. And again, they've already seen Tim Patrick out for the year. They've seen injuries already to this offensive staff. It's going to be a lot on Sutton and Judy to step up this year. I don't see a different ground game as well. I got to remind myself, this man was sacked the most in the league, as I said earlier in the app. I got to go under here. He's not going to have time, and this is a team that's really going to have to get crafty on offense, and I don't think it's contingent on Russ slinging the rock. I'm with you on under.
I agree 100%. Now, if we look at how this division is going to shake out, I think everything is priced correctly. I'm going Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. What about you?
I'm with you. Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders in lockstep. Chiefs do it again. Chargers get a wild card, very competitive AFC wild card spot. But yeah, cream of the crop moves on, and Raiders and Broncos. We'll see you next Jimmy G year.
Oh, I hate to hear it, but I understand exactly what you mean. All right, Alex, thank you so much for joining the show. You can check Alex out on the Better Half Hour on MSG Networks and Moneyline Monaco podcast on the Volume Sports. Anything else you want to promote? Where can people find you on social? This is a very funny and sharp man.
Hey, thank you so much, Katie. Just Moneyline Monaco across all platforms. We'll be giving out picks. I'm in the dog days of baseball betting, going ballistic. So if there are people out there that can't wait a month till football, cruise over to my page. We'll be firing on all things outside of the Padres, non-emotional, sharp picks only. But, unfortunately, after today, Pods are up the 5 freeway, not on a win. I said it before I left. I was like, the Dodgers get swept, grab a Disneyland, feel better, lollipop, back up the 5 freeway. Padres just can't beat the Dodgers, but I digress. But yeah, baseball picks on the page until football season. Thanks so much for having me, as always.
All right. So happy to have you. And I'm not betting very well baseball, so I'm going to cruise on over to your page. This has been Moxie Bets presented by Caesar Sportsbook. Don't forget to follow us on social at Moxie Bets, and we'll see you next time.